All right, so next up we're gonna talk about Ochocinco. Ochocinco was uh he was featured on the talk that shit, I guess, show. And they somehow got on the subject of how much is appropriate to spend on a first date with a woman. Anyone who doesn't know Ocho Cinco, former NFL wide receiver, he played for the Cincinnati Bengals. That was the peak of his career. He also played for the Patriots. I think he won a Super Bowl with the Patriots, I believe. I think he did.
I'll fact check.
Maybe I might be wrong about that. Got to fact
Yeah,
check myself.
I think I hear him talking a lot more if you actually.
Yeah. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he didn't. I might have misspoke there. But he did play on the Patriots. So now, obviously he's retired. Then, of course, reality television, famously married, reality TV, socialite, non-interesting, weird, over-the-hill chick, Evelyn Lozada. There was some allegations of abuse there. That a marriage ended in a divorce. And so now Chad Ochocinco is doing his thing. He's on the I Am Athlete podcast with Brandon Marshall and some of those other guys. Who else is on that show? Brandon Marshall and
I mean, they switched
I
it
think,
up.
I think McCoy's on there sometimes. Channing Crowder. No, Channing Crowder is on the one with Ryan Clark.
Yeah, the pivot. They switched it up, so I don't know who's what alliances. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, they be switching up the cast members of these shows a little too much. But so Chad Ochocinco is a mainstay with Brandon Marshall. I at least know Brandon Marshall's on that show. And so they got to talking about how much money is a good idea for a first date with a woman. And Chad Ochocinco has done well for himself, NFL career, so he's not exactly in the poorhouse, right? And be that as it may, this is what he had to say about whether a certain amount of money is too much for a first date.
What is a good amount of money to spend on a first date? A lot of girls feel like I got to spend a minimum $300 to be with them. I'm like,
300 what?
$300.
American dollars?
Dollars.
Please. On who? On the first date?
Yo, Chad.
For what?
You're considered a high value man. So, ladies, this is
value?
you got money?
I think high value is based on stream of income, revenue, but I am extremely cheap and financially conscious, so I don't consider myself a high value man.
And you have a lot of money.
Yes, and I'm gonna save it, which is why a $300 date ain't never happening. Because what am I paying for actually? If I'm at wit's end and I need help and I'm with you and you need a $300 date, can she save me? Can she help me? Is she an asset or is she a liability? Because anybody need a $300 date off rip is nothing but a liability. I mean, it is. Let's call a spade a spade.
I'm with you.
The women that want $300 dates, there are men out there that are going to continue to take them on it. That's why the women can always say, I'm not doing nothing but $300 a date, because there are men that will spend $300 to reach their end goal. We know what the end goal is.
Wow.
So he kind of took it a step further and said I think the original premise behind the question was first date, but based on the way that he answered the question, it kind of took it to a level in which he was saying any $300 date would be too much, because I'm not going that far. I'm cheap and I like my money. So what did you think about his response to that? There's this ongoing conversation about money and what you're supposed to spend, and you got a lot of these delusional women out here who think they deserve a certain thing, largely because they spend so much time living on their feeds and not in the real world. But be that as it may, I think Chad Ochocinco was trying to dispense with some real talk. What did you think about that?
Well, first of all, I didn't know Mr. Ochocinco became a preacher. He was really up there, spewing the gospel. I wouldn't be surprised to see him behind the pulpit one day, because this was absolutely golden. Especially where he got to the point where he said that the reason why there's women that can, pretty much shake their neck and say these types of things is because, well, there's guys that are doing that.
Yes. Yeah,
And
that was the key. That
yeah,
was the key. Yeah.
and the entire market is saturated with guys that are leading with their wallets. So this whole notion of, because I heard about this phenomenon. Now, I guess I was living under a rock. All right, because hey man, I got a budget. I got a limit. I ain't spending it. Hey, sorry, we can have a great time, you know. But let me get back to this. But to me, this was news to me. I didn't know people were spending this kind of money until, within the last couple years or so, that people are actually spending that much money on dates. Yeah, first or whatever. It doesn't matter at this point. It's just one night. And for the fact that there's hundreds of dollars being spent on one night, to me, I'm confused. And so, but there's a type of woman that commands that, and these guys are going for them, and these women, they know it. It's just they deserve each other, these people, because I don't encounter them. Maybe I did. I don't know. It couldn't be run on me, because that literally doesn't compute. My first response is, I can cook better than them. I'm not going. First of all, ladies, I'm not going anywhere if I can cook better than them. All right. I'll go, you go to get something nice, at least back in the day. But hell, Cheesecake Factory, they done fell off. But you can go somewhere like Cheesecake Factory, you get the Alfredo or whatever. I'm like, this is garbage. You get anything, you like, hey, I can cook better than this. Taste my blackened salmon. I'll crush this. So I'm not going to drop $30 on this salmon plate. So this whole notion of dropping this kind of money on a date, to me, was just a foreign concept. But be that as it may, we have a market out there of guys that are leading with wallets. All right. Instead of leading with confidence, they lead with money, and that's how they get their play. So if you will, if this was an ecosystem and this was no different than animals or whatever, you would see these two parties congregating in the same areas because they think the same. They're symbiotic. They deserve each other. So what we have done is we've created the social media, the all types of stuff. We've talked about it every week. All the conditions that are targeting masculinity. So with all of those things, targeting these people that are up and coming, they don't know what real manning is. But they know one thing that women would go for. And then they just start throwing that out there. And then what does it do? It if you start throwing breadcrumbs at a park, birds are going to start flying around and picking it up. So what do we have here? We got ourselves a situation where these clown types of people belong with each other. So let them have at it, but just stay on that side of the watering hole and leave us normal people alone. So how about you, man? How do you feel about this, man? This is tragic. We've now reached the days where guys are dropping over $300 on a first date just to get one shot at possibly touching her shoulder tonight. How do you feel about this, man? Unbelievable.
Well, it would have to be $300 just for a shot at touching her shoulder, because if it was for $300 for a guaranteed opportunity to smash, well, that would make you someone who is paying for prostitution, which a lot of guys do these days. So I'm not putting it past them. But when we're talking about dates in the traditional sense, not in the sex worker sense, yeah, it's $300 for the opportunity to have a second date, or to see her again, or to hang out again, to get her to act in a designed manner. It's a $300 investment in order to get her to want to text you back at the frequency that you want her to, or to get her to want to initiate communication with you in the new day the way that you want her to. That's what that $300 investment is for. Now, if we're talking commensurate compensation, 60, 70, 80 bucks is what is worth me getting you to respond to me like a human being, uh, not $300. But Jay-Z on Blueprint 2, he had a song on the curse called Meet the Parents. And the last line on the song that he said was, 6 shots into his kin out of the gun. Niggas be a father, you're killing your son. Let me repeat that. He said 6 shots into his kin out of the gun. Niggas be a father, you're killing your son. Now, that song was about, he was telling a story depicting a situation where a guy grew up, had a rough life, got into a relationship with a woman named Isis. The relationship went volatile and bad things went left. Crimes, took place, people died, right? But I think that those lyrics can also be extrapolated to this context as well. And I'm not talking about be a father, you're killing your son in terms of we're dealing with people whose fathers are absentee, because I'm talking about all men, period. Men raised by their fathers and men raised not by their fathers. We need to do a better job of raising these dudes to have some principles and some morals and some integrity. And I know I rail about this on this channel often, but I don't give a damn because it needs to be said. Uh, more men today need to live a principled existence. I think it was either the last stream that we did or the stream before that. I talked about the importance of men having a mission statement. If you walk into any company or organization or corporation, most companies, they have core values, uh, sets of things that company or organization lives by. It's usually like 5 of them. We do this, we do that, we care about this. Most companies have a mission. We are about doing this, this, and this, right? And I think we think of a mission statement in terms of corporatocracy most often. But I spent a summer a couple years ago reading a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And he, in one of the chapters, in the many chapters throughout that book, talked about one of the steps to being able to shift your paradigm involving you being able to write out your own mission statement for yourself. A statement which says, this is the thing that motivates me to wake up and try to conquer all my demons on a daily basis. I am motivated by this central mission. And within my motivation to this central mission, here are my non-negotiables. These are the things that I will not compromise in my pursuit of the achievement of this mission. What has happened in most in my this is my opinion, right? So in the latest generations of people, but more specifically men, if we're talking about the context of relationships, um, technology, the internet, and social media has supplanted the mission statement of men from previous generations. I think that our generation was the last generation of men who cared about living by a code, having something that made them say, I have these things that I am unwilling to compromise, even if it means I can get with the most beautiful woman in the world. If me getting with this chick means I have to compromise my mission statement, then I'm just not going to get with her. And I'm just going to strap myself up by my bootstraps and find the next woman to get with who is not going to require me to compromise my mission statement. You have far too many of these dudes out here who are raised by social media. See, it started as a small infection. It reminds me of the movie Outbreak. You had the one guy who got sick and he got infected by another guy who got sick. And then that guy went into the movie theater and started coughing, Now all of the spores are in the air and it goes into the ventilation system. Now the whole town is infected with this virus. And now you have to strongly consider nuking the whole damn town if you can't develop some sort of a, retrovirus. And that's what's going on with this situation with these dudes tricking off on these women. It started off as one weak-minded, non-principled having guy who saw something from on social media on his feed, probably put out by some rapper or some other guy who men should not be paying attention to, and he said, "Oh man, that's the kind of girl that I want to get with. Oh, that's what I have to do to get with her. I got to break bread like that. Okay, well now I'm going to start doing that." And so he took that poisonous ideology to the rest of his circle of susceptible men. They all got infected with the disease, and then they in turn infected other pockets of men. And so now what we have is an all-out epidemic, where what started as an initial infection has now spreaded and become a global pandemic, where men now believe that this is what it takes in order to get the attention of a woman. Where if you guys weren't so reticent to allow your power to be stripped from you, you would realize the power that you have and understand that if you banded together as a collective unit and stopped doing these things, women would acquiesce. They wouldn't have these expectations anymore. The only reason why they have these expectations is because you're granting them access to the expectations. So a lot of guys don't understand this. And so now, if there is a world, it isn't a world that I live in which $300 for a first date is a reasonable expectation. We honestly have no one to blame but ourselves and our capitulation to this situation. Uh, Dudes need to be raised by their fathers and not by the internet and social media, not by TikTok, because this is what you get, more of this. Internet trends, challenges, TikToks, Instagrams, following sex workers on the internet, and that being a man's central motivation has firmly supplanted men developing their own code, their own mission statement. It has replaced it firmly. And so what we need to do is go back to the days. And I know I'm sounding like an old person, but I don't give a damn. Doesn't make Just because I'm sounding like an old person doesn't mean that what I'm saying is any less true. But men need to go back to the old days in which we developed our own mission statements and didn't allow false prophets such as rappers or social media trends and influencers to develop our mission statements for us. The day that we get back to that is the day that we will live in a world in which, number one, high value won't be directly tethered to your income, because trust and believe you can be low value and still have a lot of money, right? But high value has been conflated with money, earnings, and income, which is another fallacy. And we will also live in a world where we won't have these ridiculous expectations that I have to be prepared essentially to spend $300 just so that I can have access to communication with this woman ongoing. That is the world that we now live in. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. And I do mean that sarcastically because I don't think it. I hate it. But it is what it is. This is what you get. I alone, who lives principled and has a mission statement that I live by, am not enough to overpower the legion of no scrotum having, mindless, no social skills having men who are being raised by these various apps and being told mission statements aren't as important as getting to a bag so that you can get this woman who will just exploit you for said bag, but otherwise does not give a shit about you. So I don't know if that was Ochocinco's thinking behind his diatribe, but it was certainly my interpretation. And I hope more of you dudes out there listen to it.
Well, I hope so. But
this is where we're at.
Yeah, but the trend, I'm telling you, man, the trends are not looking in our favor. So, hey, man, these guys, these young guys, they grew up with video games. That is a whole universe in itself, and it's gaming online. So you got gaming buddies, so you're getting social interaction, but it's all from men. And so you're always in the chat with the boys. It's the boys this, the boys that. You don't go outside, and you're following these streamers who are most likely men or women that are trying to bait young men into sending money because they're so thirsty and they want some type of female attention because they're not going outside. So when we have all of this stuff going on, to tell a young man, to tell a young man, it's like, hey, get some self-confidence, bro. Go get some self-confidence. And he's gonna be like, where do I begin? And so one thing's gonna lead to another. He's gonna go back to the websites, and then he's gonna go back to sending money to get attention again. And then when push comes to shove, when real life stuff starts to hit, and he's gonna want something, the same defense mechanism just pops out of, let me just throw money. I know she's gonna jump for money. And when they're doing that, that is a lack in self-confidence. And so, but where do you get that? So for us, I'll speak for myself, but for me, hooping was where I got a lot of that self-confidence from. Whenever I would do artistic stuff, that was another way where I got a form of self-confidence. Because when today's drawing day in school and we're drawing on manila paper, I'm crushing this. So all the girls in the class are going to go, who drew that? This guy. So self-confidence boosts. We go out there and we go play sports. It's field day. I'm going to do my thing. I'm not coming in first. I ain't coming in last. I'm pretty much second or third, So who's coming in third in the race when all these people are running? This guy. So it's like, oh, all right. So I got something to hang my hat on. So, overtime or whatever. Then when it got into hooping, then it became a thing of playing competition one-on-one against another man. And then playing against another man and then taking his confidence. Then you walk away from the court, like a charged up on other people's juice that you just took from them. What a confidence boost. Then you just go out in the world and you start displaying that. Then a girl looking at you because you just at the gas station getting whatever, Gatorade. Then the girl at the gas station going, God damn, not only do you have confidence, it looked like you just took somebody else's on. And I'm like, you damn right, yeah, I did. Those guys are getting that taken confidence from headshots and stuff on Call of Duty. They beating their chest in the house, slurring each other up and calling each other all kinds of names. They doing all of that combat that we did on the basketball court or in online chat rooms where it's not a face-to-face real interaction with nothing. So these guys are being socialized in a brand new way, using the same type of socialization tools, or learning types of things. But instead of using it in the field and stuff like that, scratching our knees in that type of capacity, they're learning it in AC behind closed doors where there's no estrogen around. So how can they learn to be men? They're not. So the very next step is to go, how can I get her attention? Because I ain't got nothing to offer her. I just got some headshots in Call of Duty. I wonder if she can smell that on me. Yeah, she can. That's why she went in the other aisle when your ass walked over here. So what's the key, fellas? I'm talking to the young guys, all the guys out there, you already know what's going on. But the young guys that maybe like, hey, what's happening in life? Hey, man, I'll tell you the key, bro. You got to go outside. So go outside, go get you something done, nature-y, go get a gym membership, go run around, go get active, go do some stuff, axe throwing, hell, any damn thing. Get out there and work that testosterone. Start building it naturally, no supplements or weirdo stuff. All right. And start building up something that I'm telling you right now, that natural pheromone that's coming from your pores. All right. You're going to find that nice little 6 and she going to be ready for you, bro. Because guess what? You're a 6 too and nobody cares. But you're going to find your equal and you're going to chill the hell out, at least idealistically. That's better than sitting behind that monitor and clicking on your damn keyboards. But that's where we're at, dude. So this is the world we're living in. More power to the young generation out there. I know I just gave you some harsh words, but hey, man, this was the stuff that they introduced to our generation. But we just had another way of living before it got to us. So we can we can go back and forth, we can go between worlds, but if the only world they know is video games, indoors, porno sites, hey, this is only going to get worse. So,
Yeah.
Hey, man, more power to the young guys, man. I
Yeah,
wish
it's
them the
not
best.
it's not even just those things. It's just the phones. It's all of it. It's TikTok, it's Instagram, it's all of that kind of stuff. I know
That's
when
all
I'm
right.
my nephew's 13, and whenever I'm with him, I limit his TikTok activity because it's just like, nah, bro, we're not gonna do this. You're not even allowed to take. You have to be at least 14 to get into my gym, and he's 13, and I sneak him in anyway because it's like you're coming in here. Now, granted, my nephew's being raised traditional. He has two traditional parents, thank God. So he does things. He goes outside. He likes to fish and he hunts with my brother. So he's safe. I do believe he's safe, but he's an exception. I feel this day and age. And I just hope that he can just set an example for his peer group at least. I don't know how many friends he has, but like the one of the greatest tricks that's been pulled with this situation. And I blame the manosphere for this. I
Oh.
blame the litany of podcasts and YouTube shows that try to teach men how to be more successful with women.
Yeah, yeah.
They've instilled in you guys this idea that it's just in a woman's nature to be this way. No, it's not. The only thing that it's in a woman's nature to be is like
Opportunity.
acquiescing to whatever it is that a man does. Like that's
Yeah.
what is in the nature of most women. Like you're gonna have some okay, like yeah, are there a certain percentage of women in the world who are soulless and who don't care and who are just man eaters and just don't give a shit and will just take? Yeah, but the majority of people in the world, including women, are reasonable. We say this all the time. The outliers are those who exist on the internet. Instagram models and chicks who do OnlyFans and TikTokers, those women are in the minority of the population. If your world is built around your consumption of these various things, then it's going to create the perception in your mind that that's the majority of the world. But it's not. The majority of the world is reasonable people who might dabble in these things from time to time, but otherwise live in a world where they're actually physically doing things socially around other people in person. Okay, and but what the manosphere has done is convince these guys that it's in the nature of a woman to be an extractor. It's not. It's not. So it takes a collective effort. If more men collectively set the expectation that a $300 first date isn't reasonable, then more women would understand it's unreasonable for me to have an expectation for a $300 date. You do not have to work towards providing a $300 date when you know that there's something wrong about that. But we set the tone. So when we set the tone that that's what's going to happen, the women are going to respond in kind. Stop listening to these people who make these YouTube shows and these podcasts telling you that you have to get to this bag and make this kind of money and that you're otherwise worthless because you're not racking in enough money to be able to spend $300 on each date. That is not the majority of the population. That's 10% of the population. It's ridiculous. So, these male content creators play a role in creating this climate. And they're part of the problem. It ain't women doing this. It's women saying, hey, if you're going to give it to me, I'll take it. So you just got to stop giving it to them. The problem is we keep giving it to them.
They
And these
not.
men, these flaming hypocrites who create these shows, and I'm not going to mention any of these shows by name, but they are a part of creating the very thing that they claim to be trying to teach men out of. Like they
Yeah.
claim to be trying to eliminate men, like they claim to be trying to build men's self-esteem, to give men confidence, to teach them the right kind of social skills, to limit the amount of incels in the population. That's what their mantra is. This is what we're all about, building up the manosphere. But really, you're creating all those things. You're telling a man that his worth is nothing but his income. That creates self-esteem, confidence, and incel issues because it doesn't matter what I've achieved in life or what I've done. If I don't bring in this money, if I'm not able to take this chick out on this date and spend $400 or $500 every time, then everything else about me is worthless. Y'all are reinforcing these various tropes onto these guys. And then they go out into the world and they infect other men with the ideology like a virus. So I realized this a long time ago, and I said, I need to stop consuming this content. It is not healthy for me. It's not. Women are not watching these shows. They don't give a shit. You think women are watching some of these shows and saying, those guys got a point. I'm going to change my ways. No, they're not. They don't care. They don't give a shit. They don't
especially the angry ones, especially the ones that's just sitting there bashing women.
Right. They don't care. They've got 10 dudes in their DMs offering to spend $1,000 on a date. What incentive do they have to watch your show telling them that they're wrong for maintaining those expectations? There's no incentive for them to do that. So it's on the guys. We got to reverse course on some of this kind of stuff. $300 for a first date might sound reasonable and normal to a lot of y'all out there watching this video, but that's because we've gone so far left. The pendulum has swung so far in the wrong direction in terms of our consumption of the kind of content and commentary which suggests that this is normal life. It isn't. It isn't. It really isn't. Especially with the way that this economy is going. Middle class doesn't exist anymore. You either got it or you don't. And 90% of the people don't, and 10% of the people do. So unless you're going to convince me that 90% of the people are supposed to sit here and budget out $300 for a date, we're going to have to sit down at the table and reevaluate this entire equation. So I think Ochocinco has the right idea, and this is coming from a guy who does actually have it. So yeah, there's a point to be had with this kind of stuff. And obviously the way, this, like all of the other topics that we mentioned on this show, more guys need to listen to it because, the men do set the tone. Women might have access to sex. Men have access to everything else. Men have access to relationships and marriages. Women just have access to sex. That's it. And that's not to diminish a woman's contribution. It just is what it is. There's no girlfriend, boyfriend, unless a guy says, hey, why don't we go together? There's no marriage unless a guy says, hey, chick, why don't you marry me? Women don't have control of those things. We control access to a lot of that. But you're ceding power every time that you acquiesce to these various power dynamics. It's not real. It's a fallacy. It doesn't exist. So just recognize that.
Get outside, young man. Get outside. Hey man, that's the answer. You gotta drop the technology. So whatever it is, you gotta wean yourself off of that and just get outside and scrape your knees up some. Go shoot a shot and get turned down, bro. Like it's part of the game. And but nobody wants to be rejected. I mean, nobody ever did, but there was always this thing where, perseverance was part of the code. You got to fight through shit. That's gone. So everybody wants to just get lazy rivered down life. So they want to run away from accountability and run away from being rejected. And so that's what we got, man. A lot of people that don't want to be mature. And, there's areas in my life where I'm not the most mature, and, I can look at all kinds of things, but hey, man, things are environmental and things are social. And some of the cues that I picked up that were immature in nature were social things that I picked up in life. So there's just times that you just have to realize that, oh, damn, hey, there's a better way. And I got the answer. And the answer is go do the hard thing, the responsible thing. And
go to work. Go to work. People don't want to work for anything.
And even in self-help books, they'll tell people when they got to write down goals and all this other stuff. But I've heard good things as far as do at least one thing per day that you don't want to do. Go do that. You don't want to do it. That means you should do it. Yeah. That stuff. Yeah. And just pushing yourself and taking it to another level. But if there is no internal type of thing where that person does want to actually better themselves, and they're just gonna roll right on over, man. So, hey, 2024, right? Right around the corner, man. Let's see it. I want to see it, man. Hey, and join us here at the Conscious Approach as the planet is literally on fire.
All right. Yeah, all facts. Y'all need to go, go to Barnes and Noble if you still do that thing, or if you want to do the audio book. But the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. More men need to read that book. When you get to the chapters on when it gets to the chapters on interdependence and writing out your mission statement, you'll thank me later. But y'all need to write your mission statements out and just have something that gets you up and gets you going every day, and not just being this empty vessel who's just out here chasing pussy all day. You'd be amazed what you can accomplish if you just switch your priorities up a little bit.
And honestly, you get more once you actually. Next topic. Let's go. Let's do it. Hey.
Oh boy, 6 shots into his kin out of the gun. Niggas be a father, you're killing your son. Gee whiz, man. Shouts out to Ochocinco, man. Appreciate the content.
Ocho from the crib. Skirt.